Hello and welcome along to another Panto podcast. This week I've been in Northern Ireland, over in Belfast, interviewing John Linehan. Now, that name may not ring a bell to you, but if I say the name May McFetteridge, a lovable elderly lady who's got an opinion about everything and has certainly got an opinion about what people look like. John tells me how the character started, his very first pantomime, and we also talk about the troubles that happened in Northern Ireland and how that affected performances. The quality in this episode, by the way, isn't the greatest, I'm not going to lie. The dressing room is a little bit noisy, so there might be a little bit of background hiss there. I apologise for that. I've tried whatever I can to get rid of it, but I'm sure this will be fine for you to listen to. So please, sit back and enjoy the Panto podcast. I'm joined today with John Linehan.
Yes, sir.
Who, to a lot of people, might be better known as May McFetteridge.
May McFetteridge, the lovely lily.
How did it begin then? How did you come up with the character of May?
My wife and Eamon Holmes are first cousins. Eamon does this morning when approached. But yeah, and I've known Eamon from when he was a kid. And actually, Eamon's father died in my arms. We were on holiday and we were coming back from Ballycastle. And his father, God rest him, Leonard, took a heart attack in the car. And I was behind him and we tried to revive him, we couldn't, so I was the last person he spoke to. So Eamon's got 4 other brothers, so I talked to them about, what he was telling, what he said to me, those last words. And yeah, it was very emotional, and we've been so close, And Eamon said to me, he says, John, look, I'm doing a radio show. He was working for BBC in Manchester, and he was doing a magazine programme called Open Air, and he was coming home for the summer, and the local radio station, Downtown Radio, asked him would he do a couple of weeks, and he was just looking about for people to ring in so he'd have a bit of crack with them, and he rang me, and I nearly didn't do it, and it was only as I promised him. There must have been drink involved, and I said I did, I'll do it. But and I remember it was in Donegal the weekend before it, on the Saturday and Sunday before the Monday. Another mate of mine, Pat, and he said, go on, John, do it, there should be a bit of crack or something, So I promised him, I said, okay, we'll do it. Went home on Sunday, and on Monday morning I was working in a garage as a motor mechanic, and he said, ring me at about 10 to 11. So I was standing in my overalls with my mother-in-law in the house and Eamon's mother, because my mother-in-law and Eamon's mother were sisters. And I was going to let on it was an old dog, a wee woman, as they say here in Belfast. And was going to call myself Josie after Eamon's mother, just for a bit of crack. And I thought, I could call her May after Brenda's mummy, God rest her. And she said, so it started, and I says, how long what to talk for? He says, my 5 minutes. I my God, how am I going to talk for 5 minutes? And subsequently, I called myself May, and they went, oh, May, where are you from? North Belfast. And, well, what's the crack? What are you doing today? Oh, to go down and get this and to get that and see my friends and blah, blah. He said, by the way, May, what's your second name? And I went, what? He said, what's your second name? I said, I didn't think we were going to get into into names. So I had a copy of the Irish News, it's a local paper, and like any other guy, you read it from the back of Sports. And at the back, the headline was McFetteridge has a blinder. And this guy, Alcan McFetteridge, played hurling for the Antrim team, and the Antrim team in the late 80s were a superb team, got into the final 2 years after that as well. And this was 87. And the headline was McFetteridge has a blinder. And I says, it's McFetteridge, 2 T's, by the way, 2 T's. And, all right, May McFetteridge, he says, strange name. I said, good Ulster name, good Antrim name. I says, that's it. all right, May McFetteridge. And then I was looking in the mirror beside myself, and I'm looking, what the hell am I talking about here? I was just making it up as it was going on. And what about friends? And I had a friend, Big Paddy Griffin, who's one of my best mates, and played football with Paddy. And I says, I have to see Big Patricia, today, because I call him Big Pat. And Big Patricia is in this act here as well. I mentioned her too, and the guy died. He said he would die. He said he died just before he was 40, and he's 20 years dead. And I still mention him in every act. And he went, all right. So May, you don't mind if I call you tomorrow morning? I says, I don't mind, so you can call away. And that was her born, 21st of August, 1987.
Crikey.
And then we finished a couple of weeks later, the radio, and another DJ, he came along and he said, John Daly, a lovely fellow, I ended up working on television with as well, and John asked me would I be part of his show, and I did it, and I was part of John's show for years, and we moved from the early morning then to drive time, from 3 to 6, whatever it was, and I was part of Downtown Ed for I don't know how many years. And then a guy at UTV saw me and thought would I do a show here in the Opera House? They were 30 years old. UTV were 30 years old. And they were having a week of all big bands on, and when the curtain goes down, one band would get off, another band would get on, so you're just filling in for 10 minutes until the next band was ready. And a guy asked me would I, do it, and the main presenter of it, so he said, no, I don't fancy your man. I've heard him on the radio. I don't really like him. He said, well, we booked him, and this guy called Jerry Kelly, who has a television show, and he says, no, I don't really fancy him. So we met, and the first night, Jerry says, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, do you want to just busk it? You just come on and say to me, look, you shouldn't be here or whatever, and we'll take it from there. And that happened, and he said, might as well tell you the truth, John, I didn't fancy you when I heard you were coming along. He says, but now we'll work together. He says, look, I'm starting a television show, The Kelly Show, and I'd like you to do warm-up for it. I did it for 16 and a half years. And I met everybody from Cliff Richard, Kylie Minogue, to the Furies, to whoever you want to call it, to boxing promoter. Remember that big boxing promoter from America? The massive hair.
Oh, Don King.
Don King. And he was K-E-L-L-Y, Kelly, Kelly. And then I came in dressed as the old doll. And I said, hello son, how are you? You're looking well. And somebody said, could we hire you for the weekend? Because it was the first time we heard Don King silent for 10 minutes. So yeah, we met them all then, and the Crankies were guests in the show, and they were doing Panto here in 1988, 89. And they said, you'd be an ideal dame, did you ever think of it? I said, no, I never thought of it. I said, I'd say the Albemarle, they were the promotion company was doing it. And they rang Albemarle, told them about me, they came over, looked at me, offered me the Panto 89, 90. And I've been here from it.
And that was it?
That was Herb, up and running, born and whatever.
So you've pinched one of my questions.
All right. 14-year question.
Are you reading the script? No, I'm not at all. So when you were a child then, did you have funny bones? Were you always a bit of a joker? Or?
No, I never thought I was, but I was... I never thought I was a joker at school or anything, I know when I was at work, guys I worked with, said, you should be on stage, And I went, yeah, dead on. And especially in Dublin, a guy said to me, I worked in Dublin for a few years. Me and my wife, we were caught in a bomb here, no warning bomb, and we were in an upstairs lounge in a bar, and just bang. And we were the first two dug out of the rubble, and so we moved to Dublin for 4 or 5 years, and the guy said, you should be on stage, the crack's good, and you you have a natural, rhythm or whatever. But yeah, then we'll come back and started McFetteridge.
So, starting off then as a motor mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
what did you want to do when you were a child at school?
Didn't know what I wanted to do. I came home from school one day on a Friday. My mother says, I've got an interview for you on Monday. I says, what for? I says, motor mechanic. I says, I don't know nothing about. We didn't even have a car or a house. Because I had a car. And I couldn't screw nothing about. And I went, and where is it? Down Donegal Street. Down to Donegal Street. And this is within an hour coming to school. I was down Donegal. Right, can you start on Monday? I said, well, I'll have to tell the school. He said, okay, start on Tuesday. Or Monday lunchtime. And I went up early and told him I was leaving. And I remember the careers teacher was bringing everybody in. Now you can go on and do your A levels, you go to Queen's, or you can do whatever you want to do, college and all. And he came in low saying, no, I want to leave, sir. Now listen, son, you do this, you do that. And everybody was coming out, I'm going to stay on, I'm going to get my exams, I'm going to do that. And I went in and I says, I remember Mum, Wee Doc was his name. And Wee Doc, I says, I'm leaving, so he says, good luck. That's all he said. Good luck. I mean, very So it was a no-brainer. So I was a mechanic for 20 odd years.
Do you still tinker with cars?
I can put water into my own car, into the windscreen washer bottle. I don't know where the radiator cap is. It's not on the radiator, and it's not on the reserve. I can't find the reserve tank.
So it's all changed within 29 years.
It's all changed, that's it. Only thing I get on the nails and eyes makeup.
Do you remember that very first time when you wanted to decide on May's look?
I had about a year before May started, there was a wee club up on the Antrim Road called the CBPPU, Christian Brothers Past Pupil Union. We had a wee football team out of that. And I got 2 teeth knocked out a million years ago. Well, they weren't knocked out, they were taken out. And they were doing a wee thing, a Belfast version of Cinderella. And I was one of the ugly sisters, don't want to be an ugly sister. So I said, at attention, I'd take the teeth out. And the other ugly sister was a guy, God rest him now, he's dead, Gabriel Savage, very, very funny actor, very funny man, lovely guy. And this was all our mates that played football. And there was a couple of sort of, amateur actors. And we did a Belfast version of Cinderella. And they had 2 A4 pages of dialogue between the 2 ugly sisters. And after the first show, we were supposed to do 3 shows. Well, it was extended to 5 shows. And the A4 pages, it went from 2 to 5. And each night there was another A4 page put on about slagging different people, who were in the audience or who would be in the audience the next time. And it was all great crack, just all good crack. And I just acted an old woman, and I took my teeth out, and that was it. And I said, well, shall I take my teeth out when I'm doing the outlaw, the way I did with Eamon on the radio. Subsequently, I've got a bridge in now and everything out, so I just blacken the teeth out now, just for visual. So that's how we had her. And funny, on the radio, after 2 weeks in the radio, the Irish News local paper again, the one where I got the name from, rang me, wanted to do an interview. I said, well, what will I wear? So I went to my ma, dear lover, and I said, Mummy, you have a lovely grey wig. And she had a lovely head of silver hair, way mine is now, probably. And but she kept the wig. I said, why have you a wig anyway? She said, it doesn't matter. So I took a wig and I put a wee hat on it, and one of her dresses, a cardigan, and a handbag, and just got the photograph taken.
What did your friends think?
Thought it was nuts. my wife thought of it. She said, I heard Eamon Holmes knows some wee woman up in North Belfast. Some wee woman called McFetteridge. I says, that's me, mother. Says, are you and Brenda all right? I says, and Brenda's okay. The girls, they had to go in there, you know, they got abuse at school and all, but just good, you know, good humour abuse, you know. Your dad dressed subsidized on.
From that very first panto, when you first stood on this stage, what was going through your mind for that first audience?
My balls through my everything went through my mind. A big crowd never really annoyed me, you know, because you know when me and Big Paddy got arrested, when we were growing up, you know, any time we went into a bar, people go, "Oh Christ, here's these two, you're in for it now," no matter who it was, you know. And it says these two start slagging you off, the crack's going to be good, or you'd always get somebody around you for the crack, you know. So yeah, bigger the crowd to me, the better it was, you know. So, but it was still nerve-wracking. It's all right if you're in a bar slagging people, you know, or having a bit of crack, but when you have to rely on others and they have to rely on you on punchlines, etc., etc. So if you're going to go off, you know, if you're going to go off the book, as I say, just remember where you were off to start back on it at that point, you know.
Do you find yourself going off the book very often these days?
Not as when I'm on my own, I'll be fine. It's grand, I can do it, and then we'll go. Then you know what your punchline is, because it's a lightning cue, it's a music cue, it's a cue for one of the other principals to come on or something to start. So if you start forgetting those, it's time to move on, isn't it?
What about discipline when you actually started off?
Yeah, probably it was a wee bit wayward, I'm sure. But no, I don't think I ever, you know, sort of got into trouble over it at all, you know. But I suppose you have to put the toe in the water, you know, feel, you know, especially in Belfast. And like when I started, it was still very, very bad. You know, tit-for-tat murders, etc., and bombings and shootings. And like the first year I did it here, the next year there was a £500 bomb put in the street just out the window there. And it took this whole side of the theatre down, and it wrecked sort of half of the Europa Hotel. I think it was put there for a double whammy, you know. So that was a wee bit hard to take, you know.
What's it like living in this sort of area where keep smiling and go on, or do you just,
well, that's what
or
you
does
do.
it kind
no,
of
it's hard at times.
It's difficult sometimes.
It was hard. Now it's brilliant, you know. Belfast is a different place than it was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. It's in a super place. If you can just get storm out to run, you know. But actually the country's running quite well without them, so just take their wages off them and let them go. Like I've seen Great Victoria Street, which is a hub now of everything, you know. The whole world goes up and down Great Victoria Street. And I remember doing Panto here with Jimmy Cricket and being out there at 6 o'clock on a Saturday, and there was a bag blowing up the street. That was the only thing, just a bag blowing up the street. Now it's called the Golden Mail.
very vibrant now, isn't it?
Unbelievable. Brilliant. You can't get hotel rooms, you know, for lovely money. It's just unbelievably brilliant. But like we missed 30 years of that growing up. I know when the trouble started I was 17. And there was ones caught, shootings, bombings, friends killed, but you had to live on and do both sides of the clubs, you know, the loyalist side, nationalist side, you know, and see what you could get away with. Well, I got away with most of it. I'm still here.
You are.
But you know, I think no matter what side you were, you know, should have been one side or the other. You always appreciated someone to come in and try and entertain them.
Humour. Do you think humour's had a big part in the whole restoration of the city?
Well, it has. Well, I don't know about humour doing it, but we did as much as we could do. You know, anybody I know who did the clubs as well, entertainers, you know, alone, and singers, bands, they just went everywhere. And you had the Miami, where they were coming up from the south, and they were mutilated, you know, and that stopped a lot of southern bands coming up. But the ones here just kept plodding on. It was so hard at times.
What about when there were terrible atrocities happen and you had to be on that stage? What was it like to sort of leave that behind?
Very, very hard. You wonder, like, at times do you ring up and say, look, is it still happening? And they go, yeah, it's happening. You just got to grin and bear it and just do it. Be careful getting home.
And what about the audience reaction inside once the show started?
Yeah, well, I think very resilient here, you know, they realise you're there to try and, you know, help with people and just bring them out of it and be lost for 45 minutes.
Escapism. Yeah. And what about audiences now compared to sort of 20 years ago?
Or too young. I can do all the old jokes now because the ones I used to do years ago, that people have passed on or they can't remember, they've got the dementia to go, oh, that's right, aye, that's lovely. I told you 20 years ago, but a lot of young ones come on, and there's no cabaret now as such, you know, it's bands or garage music or whatever. I thought garage music was just somebody playing a radio in the garage. But and house music, well, what's the difference between garage and the house? You know, all this. But yeah, it's totally different. And most young ones wouldn't go to Panto. But I was talking to a young lad, actually, he gave me a lift this morning. I got the bus into town, I was getting car parks now in Belfast. Horrendous. I remember you could have parked 100 cars in that street and you wouldn't have been bothered. Now you can't get near it. And he stopped and he said he was at the Panto for the first time last week and brought his 2 kids. And he says, I never laughed as hard. He says, really? He says, and I come out and bought my tickets for next year. And there's 20,000 seats sold for next year.
Already.
You know, already. And he's just said it. And he told a mate of his, and his mate went, and his mate had never been in the opera house before, never saw a Panto before. You know, so what would a fella 35 years of age be doing at a Panto when he brought 2 of his kids and just on, he said blew him away. He just loved it. So it's, you know, it's not just for kids. You know, you have the simple Simon type guy who's, you know, you want to be in my gang and all, and that's great. And then I come out and I'm doing the double entendres for the adults, and it's just going down very well, you know.
What about yourself? Did you ever go to Pantos much as a child?
First Panto I was in. First Panto I saw, I was in it.
Was it really?
We did, I never sat in it. We did one, Who Killed Cock Robin, and I know how to be a soldier, but there was no speaking parts at primary school. Who Killed Cock Robin? I didn't even get not a word. And the first one, major one I saw, I was in.
And how was that? To actually sort of come into this whole Panto environment?
Yeah, I know. I didn't know. I knew, obviously, I knew Thames, and there was Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs or whatever, Jack and the Beanstalk. But I never really thought about being part of it, and it gives you that, you know, I still get it now, today. After, you know, half a dozen shows, it starts to relax, but that first night, nerves, my stomach is in knots. And I know it's not Chekhov, it's Panto. If you make a mistake, they laugh at your mistakes. But you're still uptight and you can't wait for the curtain to go down for the first and the second and the third time, so you know you've got it. So on this one, on our dress rehearsal, it's in front of an invited audience. And there's 1,000 people out there, and we have never had to stop, ever, in the 29 years of dress rehearsal, and I nearly stopped it this year. I get into a chicken costume one scene too early, and there was something like 15 to 20 seconds of space that my mate Paddy, who I've been doing it with for 17 years, he was on stage and he just, oh yes, oh sure, May'll be along very shortly because she's my wife, and she's never let me down. May, you're at love, where are you? Oh right, this costume half on me and half off me. Yeah, I said, oh well, yeah, I was in the chicken run just far too early. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. I still shake when I think about it, but the show went on.
What's your favourite thing about pantomime?
It's meeting people for the first time, I met Ricky Kay, this guy here, and who was Ricky K, Ricky J, Ricky B, Ricky C, I don't know who, Ricky, but this guy here is a real nice guy. And David Badella, it's the second time I've worked with David, and he has been doing panto all over the UK, and a real nice guy. I'm working with Jenkins again. Jenkins is an unbelievable character to work with, because he does other characters for television and for radio, and he's just super great to work with. And then you see the young ones come along, and first time you can see ones who want to be stars, and some you can see them making mistakes. Not wee word in their ear, just try this or do that or don't do this. And it's just meeting them all. And the guys backstage here at the Opera House have been near enough the same people for quite a few years, and they're all great guys, great to work with. And there's no travelling, just get the bus into town. Or if it's a nice fresh morning walk, and it's only 4 miles, you can walk into town, and it's great.
What about for yourself? When you've actually bedded into your run, how long does it take you to do that and to get your routines in place?
You're probably 4 or 5 shows. You're very comfortable in 4 or 5 shows. Although if you had seen me yesterday, was it last week? You don't. Days just run into different days. Some of the days you don't, because we used to always get a Sunday off. Now we get a Monday off. And on Tuesday you don't know what day it is. It's sometimes you make a mistake, and the mistakes are just so funny for the rest of the. You maybe you don't really want to make a mistake. Nobody does, but if it happens, it's just hilarious. It's good crack.
What about Christmas for yourself?
One day.
One day
Off. You get 2 shows Christmas Eve, 2 shows Boxing Day, and for the umpteenth year in a row, I have been in my bed by 7 o'clock that evening, exhausted. And you can't go berserk, because you're not a young lad anymore.
How old are you then? If
I'm
I'm
67.
67.
Mm-hmm.
You don't look it. I'm not just saying that either. You really, you don't look it.
I know. I think I've got my mother's genes. No, you're very kind, thank you. But the body's 67. It doesn't matter what you look.
And would you have thought it from the beginning, that very first time you walked on the stage, that 29 years' time, I'm still going to be doing this?
I said to my agent, I says, I would love to do that again. If you can get, I know they don't give it to people 2 years in a row, but if you could get me out for a second year, I'd be over the moon. And he did. And Nick Thomas and myself now, Michael Harrison, great guys. It's great to anytime they come over just to meet them and have a drink, and just good guys.
And loyal, they've kept you on, haven't they?
Yeah, loyal, and that goes 2 ways, I've been loyal to them, they've been loyal to me, because other people have come in and wanted you to go elsewhere, and but Opera House were good to me, Kudos good to me, and MBE were good to me, and all those other ones that amalgamated into what is Kudos now.
You've met some very good people over the years.
Unbelievable. Some great, great people. Ray Marr sticks out. Ray Marr was the alpha of Home and Away, the Australian. And he rang me on Christmas morning to wish me happy Christmas, all the way from Aussie land. Yeah, real nice guy. And about 3 years ago, Christmas morning, the phone rang, and it was Dirty Dan, Leslie Grantham. And I hadn't heard from him. He says, John, just wanted to wish you a happy Christmas and you and the family. And then, it was a few months after that he died. I'm penniless here. So it's not all about being a star, is it? It's about living.
Do you think Panto brings out the best in people? Do you find then Panto brings out the best in people?
I think the best and the worst in people, because I've seen people here having people in tears. And I would approach them and I said, look, what are you doing? But, it's them and us. I said, well, what are you talking about, them and us? You don't talk to twirlies, you don't talk to dancers. You're a star. I said, hold on. I said, see if the stage isn't brushed and cleaned. There's something wrong. If your washing's not done, there's something wrong. If your makeup, or whoever's doing your hair or whatever, if they're not here, I said, there's something wrong. It's a team effort. And no matter if your face is on the poster or you're looking up at night, it all has to happen. It's a team. I said, so don't be them and us and don't be having people in tears or whatever, And I'll not mention names.
No. They might be listening.
They may well be listening. You know who you are.
Did they change their ways though after you spoke to them?
Well, at the end of the run, there was one guy. He said to me, "I thought you were going to, take me apart. Gut me." I says, "Why? Because this is your hometown. You're a comedian. We're comedians, and I thought you'd have ripped us apart." I say, "Would you have ripped me apart?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Yeah, that's the difference." Anyway, and on the last night we were having a drink in Europa, and he went, "Do you know what, John? You were right."
It's a shame, isn't it, that some people get like that?
Yeah, but maybe that's just clutching at straws, You're clutching for something that's not there. Just be yourself. There's nobody better at it in the world than you.
Is there anything you don't like doing in Panto?
Getting in the chicken outfits.
Or anything you find a bit more of a struggle?
Well, it's sometimes when you would have a piece of equipment that they've sent over and they use it just for the sake of using it. A few years back, I was in this gorilla costume. What the gorilla costume was a gorilla costume, but it was as though I was in a cage, and that one. And I'm sure there's guys out there listening to this going, "I know exactly what John's talking about." What a, lovely piece of equipment. If somebody else is in it, but not me. And you normally you're in this for 12 seconds, but to get into it and to get out of it, and it's nothing. It's just, people go, ha ha ha, but this monkey has got me in this cage and I don't know what it's going to do, and they want you to do all these gestures, and in Belfast that doesn't work, gestures like that, it just doesn't work in Belfast, whether you're one side or the other. They're quite prudish about stuff like that, and stuff like that puts me. You see it, and on their first day you're looking at them, and they're setting up everything, and you're looking to see what type of crop's coming. I don't know.
You said there about the audiences can be a bit prudish.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find that then in Belfast?
Well, a lot of the times when the scripts come over, you're reading it, oh, no, that's not going to work. No, that's not going to work. And you're just putting a pencil, just a question mark, question mark. What can we do instead of that? What can we do instead of that? And Paddy Jenkins and myself, maybe the CEO will sit down and say, look, that'll never work, that'll never work, I mean, you just change it, simple as that. Say, all right, I've seen stuff go down in Darlington or Newcastle or wherever it is, and people laughing in Belfast, they'll be going, what's a wee bit,
In what way?
And all right, you can double entendres, say the gorilla costume. Well, the gorilla was supposed to be as if it was nudging me from the back, right? That wouldn't work in Belfast. No, absolutely. And I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? I just let on that had me in the cage and it was going to eat me. But the way...
Not anything else?
No, there was nothing else. No rings or no, there was nothing. No engagement. No. That's the way they would be in Belfast. And I know that, so I can just tell them. And they're starting to say, because every now and again there's only a few you have to... they're starting to get the way of it here, And that's why it's so well taken, it's... Yeah, I think we're doing something like 96% here, 96.7% or so, which is super.
What about UK-wise? Have you ever performed over that way?
Oh yeah, I've done stuff in, maybe working for Northern Iron Tourist Board and going around Liverpool, Newcastle, Blackburn, Glasgow. Did quite a few things in Glasgow and New York. In Toronto, I did a wee sort of a 6-gig tour, in Toronto, 7 maybe. Yeah, it seems to, you just slow it down a wee bit because I know we talk quite fast and the dialogue, you have to get an ear for it, after a while. The guys, I'm sure, someone here the first week hadn't a clue what I was talking about, which was great.
Like a code.
Yeah, that's it.
How did they take to May in other places?
Yeah, it just it took a bit of getting used to, But after they get the year in, and I slow it down a bit, yeah, it goes well. Comedy always travels, doesn't it? I think. Maybe that's why I've been here 29 years. Maybe it doesn't travel. But it's given me a good life, I'll tell you.
And what do you do in your downtime? What's your things to relax?
I would, I don't know how many weddings I would have during the year. Or May comes in as the unexpected guest or been brought in as the next girlfriend of the bride's father, And you come in and you just hit both sides, both sides. And it's probably the first time that the families have all sat and met each other, and it breaks the ice because you come in at the end of coffee, and you just go, hello, and roaring and shouting, I'm a good friend, and whoever booked me will give me 8 names, 4 from each side, and tell me about them, and I know them, and I know them, and you get all the names of the 12 or 15 people in the top table, and you know something about each of them. Brilliant.
So did you ever stop working during the year?
No. There's plenty to do, and then you go off and do a play or something, I've done the Opera House here on 3-4 occasions, and filled the place for a week with play, and then you take it out around the theatres around the country, and May doing something else,
And what about John? Does John ever make an appearance?
Yeah, John does stand up as well. I'm referred to as May's driver. Come and see the man who drives me about, but then everybody knows, and it's the same, near enough the same cut and tongue. You can get away with that with murder with May, she gets away. John's not just that confident at slagging somebody's wife off, whereas his May, slagging a man's wife off. You're right, May, love. Yes, she is hard looking, I'll take it. But you wouldn't say, your wife's a hard. Put a nice suit on. And was that right? Oh, you're not so.
So the ladies take it a little bit better when you're dressed as a lady.
Oh, they do, yeah, absolutely. And a lot of them know somebody that looks like me or gets on like me. It's somebody's granny or somebody's auntie or someone's mother, You're the image of my wife's ma. All this,
With the stubble.
She's got a beard as well, but hers isn't cut as well as yours is.
Who made you laugh then when you were growing up?
Tommy Cooper. Two guys I work with here at Camden Ball. Loved him on television. Tommy Cooper. Les Dawson. The mother-in-law jokes, but unbelievable. And then when he did the two characters, him and the guy.
Sissy and Ada.
Unbelievable, brilliant. And it was just him and the big fat jaws, and that maybe just a wee touch of me. It was just Les Dawson with a wig on, and all the movements of the moving the boobs and the mouth, moving with nothing coming out. I'd have had him twice on the Kelly show. Les Dawson, lovely, lovely man. He was coming near the end of his tether, He was sweating profusely, and he was just but funny. Loved him. Morecambe and Ways. Lauren and Hardy of the films. Priceless.
The new film's coming out soon, isn't it? Next week?
Oh, that's right. Aye.
Have you seen the trailer for it yet?
Yeah, I've seen parts of it. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that the missus is going to take me to go and see. So what's next then for May?
For May, I haven't even got my diary sorted out for this year yet. We'll finish Sunday, so next Monday or Tuesday we'll go up to the agent. I know nothing next week. We'll go up to the agent, and then the week after that, I've to go into hospital to get a bit of surgery here because I can't close the fingers like that. So there's a nerve here that needs moved and maybe scar tissue around there from a previous operation. So it must be a scar tissue that's affected. So I'll get that sorted and get my golf swing back. I hope it's a different golf swing than I had before. I'm the vice captain of Fort William at the minute, Fort William Golf Club in Belfast. So my captaincy starts in February, so it's going to be a busy year with the golf club, and an expensive year in the golf club, but really looking forward to it. It's a lovely club, great members, and there's always great crack about the place, so looking forward to that.
How long do you reckon you'll be out with the op?
I think it's, I hope it's only a one day or just overnight, get it done. The arm will probably be out of action for, I'd say, 2 weeks probably, just so.
So it's nothing?
No, so there's no driving or no golfing, so we'll see what happens after that. And then come May we'll have a family holiday. I think we're all going over to Portugal for a week or 10 days. And not a lot of people know this. I suppose I'm doing opera this year, September. The Fledermaus here in the Grand Opera House. McFetteridge is doing opera. I never thought I'd ever said those words. Apparently, I wouldn't be an opera fan or an opera goer. I know there's people that love it, and I'm sure it's great, but I've never seen one, and probably this is probably going to be the first one I'll have seen, and I'm going to be in it the way I went for it. But apparently there's a drunk, a jailer in the Fledermaus, who's a drunk, and I'm going, well, why are they asking me to do this? Is it because the drink So, yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that. So,
I'll make sure the link's on as well, so that people can come and see that.
Oh,
How many nights is that on?
I think it's on 4 nights here. There's a couple of weeks of rehearsals, and do I have to sing? Because there's going to be a big stumbling block here about if I'm going to have to sing opera. Oh! No, I can't see it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your half-hour call. You have 30 minutes, and the house is now open. The house is now open. Please do not cross the stage. Thank you.
It looks like our time is limited here.
Time is limited. Make them wait. Make them wait.
You go down and see Paddy. Make him.
I will do.
Yeah,
I will do.
6'8" of him.
That's all right. So, do you ever go and see many other pantos?
No, because ours is quite a long panto. And see, by the time we start, nothing else has started. And by the time we have finished, they're gone. They're finished. Then 4 or 5 weeks, and ours is a 6-week run. It used to be 7. It was 8 at one time. So we're. I'd love to go over and see, the like a Billy Pierce and or Darlington or Manchester or wherever different ones are, just to go over and see them. So yeah. No, we can't. Obviously.
And what's the process for you when you actually half-hour call we've just had here in John's dressing room, and I'm surrounded by bras and knickers.
They're just me own.
I was going to say.
Oh no, they're.
But now, what's the process then? I mean,
I have 20 minutes to get my makeup on, and when that 20 minutes is gone, there'll be 2 dressers in here. One will be taking you out, and the other one will be dressing me. And yeah, so then you get your quarter-hour call, and then your 5, and at the 5 call you have to be at the side of the stage because there's people to be picked out for part of the show. We'll have a camera, a big screen drops, and so we'll have to have our what was I going to say? I can't say victims, but there will be the victims.
Participants.
That's it. Brilliant. Well done, Ian. Well done. Participation is what it's all about.
Well, I've got one last question for you.
Yep.
And this is what we always ask our guests of the Panto podcast, is your dream pantomime and your dream pantomime cast. You can either be in it, you can either be in the stalls watching it, you can choose the theatre. I'm guessing which theatre you would like it in. And the cast can be with us or passed over to the other side. You can bring them all back for one last.
I would be in the box, the Royal Box, with a bottle of Chardonnay, and it would be Cinderella. The 2 uglies would be Les Dawson and Paddy Jenkins from here. Cinderella would be my goodness, who would Cinderella be? Either there's 2 here I'm thinking about. Faye Tozer, who was here 2 or 3 years ago, just a lovely person. Faye Tozer, or wee girl from Coleraine, absolutely stunning, and I can't remember her name. Oh, Jane Weisler, absolutely good, and just a lovely, lovely person. No words and grace about herself. Cinderella, and who would be the wicked witch would be a girl called Sully Branscombe, who is no longer with us. Sully was a wicked witch, and I did Panto here for the first time, and what a witch she was, real tall. And when she put the makeup on and made her face look even longer, she looked like those cartoon characters. She really from. And who else would there be in it? Who'd be the young is it the Prince Cinderella?
Prince Charming, yeah.
Yeah, Prince Charming. The guy called Aidan O'Neill, who did 5 or 6 pantos here with me. Just a good looking, fun, good friend of mine guy. But brilliant.
A Baron?
A Baron, Ray Marr. Baron Hardup, Ray Marr from Australia. You name them all, you know them all. Who's the next?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. If they were all there now.
Fairy Godmother.
All fairy godmother. Who'd be the fairy godmother? Do you know what? I'll only drink half the wine. I'll be the fairy godmother.
Yeah.
And fly in.
Well, John, or May, shall I say, thank you so much for spending time chatting.
Total pleasure.
Brilliant.
Thank you, my friend.